Hi, my name is Paul Heron, and today I'm going to be talking about Picasa. Picasa is a free image editing and sharing application which you can download from Google. It's now a Google application. If you don't already have it installed on your machine, you can go to your Google search engine and just search for Picasa and click on the link. On my machine it says picasa.google.co.uk. You might see it as .ie or .com depending on where you're downloading it from. Click on that, it brings up the Picasa website, and then you download Picasa for the version, for the operating system that you're using. Now, in my case, I would be using Windows, so I download Picasa where it says Windows XP Vista 7. You might be using a Mac operating system, in which case you just use this particular version. Now, I'm not going to download again because I already have it on my machine. It's a fairly straightforward installation. So you've downloaded and installed Picasa. And you see the icon on your desktop. And it looks like the aperture of a camera. And it has the term Picasa 3 on it. Now, when you run Picasa for the first time, Picasa will search your hard drive for all the images and it will bring it into its own databases. And if I open up some of these, you'll be able to see some images that are stored on the databases, on my Picasa database. To grab an image that you have on your machine, you can also click on File and go to Add File to Picasa, and then search in the particular folder you want for the file that you want. Now I'm going to take this County Donegal 3 image, and there we go. What I'm going to do to this image now, and this is related to the Level 4 project in digital media. I'm going to adjust the brightness and contrast. I'm going to adjust the hue and saturation. I'm going to crop the image. I'm going to resize it, and I'm going to save it. On the left-hand side are the toolboxes that Picasa has, and these are a lot of the common tasks that you will want to do in Picasa. Now, to change the brightness and contrast, I click on, it looks like a little sunlight image. To change the brightness, I use the fill light slider, and you can see as I slide that to the right, the image gets brighter and darker as I go to the left. So I can adjust the image to the brightness that I want. The contrast is set by the highlights and the shadows. The shadows makes the dark areas darker, and the highlights makes the bright areas brighter. So that's how you change the contrast on an image. Now, the hue on an image really relates to the tint, the amount of, or the ratios of the reds, greens and blues on the image. The image is made up of combinations of reds, greens and blues. And I can change the tint of an image, or the hue of an image, by moving the color temperature control. I'm going to undo the tuning so it goes back to the original. Now I would like to look at the saturation. Now the saturation relates to the amount of color on an image. And this is a bit like when you had televisions in the old days, a color television. There used to be a color control that you could turn back and you could take the color right off the screen, or you could turn it right up and you got very vivid color on the screen. So to get the saturation, I go to the center tab on the toolbox, and I go down to the saturation option. And by moving the control, I can change the amount of saturation, the amount of color that's in the image. Our eyes see color and light level. In fact, most of the detail that we see with our eyes is the level of light rather than the color. Different parts of our eye looks at the level of light, or the luma level. The chroma color for our eyes has less detail. Anyway, we can change the amount of color in an image by changing the saturation control. and I'm going to cancel that. If I want to change the color and keep a new level, then I would click on the apply button, but I'm just going to cancel that. Now I want to look at cropping. Cropping relates to taking a section of the image. Now this is where you may not want the full image, but you might be interested in a particular part of the image. And the cropping control allows us to grab a part of the image of a particular size or ratio. And to get the cropping control, I go to the little spanner on the toolbox and I click on the first option. There's a drop-down list, and this gives me various options that I can choose between. So let me have a look at the manual first. If I go into the manual control, and what I've done here, I put my mouse pointer over the image. I've clicked my left mouse button, and now I'm dragging across the screen. And with this control, I can take sections of the image, whatever size or whatever ratio I want. This might be useful, for example, if you're trying to create a nice header image for your website, and you might want it that shape, like a letterbox shape. There's other images where you can, there's other options where you can get a square. Again, this could be useful if you're going to create a CD cover, as is mentioned here, or I can reduce the size, and that could become, again, a square image for my Facebook profile, which is a square image. Once I select the area of the image that I want to crop, then I can preview that by clicking the preview button. That gives me a quick look at what I've just selected. If I'm happy with what I got, then I can click on the apply button. If I don't like it, I can cancel, and I'll recrop. Take a slightly different area, preview that, and if I like that version, then I can apply. Okay, so we've cropped an area of the image that we want. Now I want to export that, and I want to resize it, and I want to save it for use on the web. To do that, I go to File and Export Picture to Folder. When I use export, then I have certain options. First of all, I can decide where I want to save the image on my computer by clicking the Browse button, and I can select the appropriate folder. I'm happy enough with this default. I can decide to use the original image size, and the original size, if you want to know what it is on your image, you look down here on this blue line, and the image size that I've selected is 149 times 149 pixels, so that's square. Or I can resize the image, and the pixel count relates to the width of the image, so I keep it down around there, or maybe I'll make it a little bigger. I can change the image quality. Now this image quality is important from the point of view of web images, particularly if you're if you're saving off a large image. The thing about images is images use a lot of memory. So if you have them on your website and somebody wants to download an image, or even just open up your website which may have images on it, if the image files are large, then your site will take a long time to load. Now that's particularly important where people are using mobile devices, which would have slower download times and where there's a cost to download compared to when you're using a laptop with your wireless at home. What I'm going to do now is save off the image at a couple of different quality levels so that you can see the difference between the quality between a high quality and a low quality export. I'm going to leave this first of all at 85%. So this image quality will be 85% of the original, and I'll export that. So there we have it here. I close this, and we'll export the image again, And this time I'll export it, say something drastically low at 15% and export that. And then we'll have a look at both of these images and we should see a difference in the quality. So that is our 85% image and there is our 15%. And you can see there's a fair amount of blurring on the image that's saved off at 15% when compared to the image that was saved off at 85%. So what you would do if you were saving off an image for web use is think of the trade-off between the size of your image, the download time, and the quality of the image. So those are the things that you need to think about. So there we have it. We've looked at how to adjust brightness and contrast. We've looked at how to change the hue, the saturation or color levels on an image. We've cropped an image, and we've resized the image and saved it for web use. Thank you very much. So once I select the area of the image that I want, then I click on the preview and have a quick look at the section of the image that I am deciding to crop out. If I'm happy with my selection, then I can click on the apply button and now I have my new image. The next thing for me to do now is to save this image off or to export the image. And this is where I can adjust the file size of the image and I can also adjust the width of the image. So I would click on my file and export picture to folder. I can decide where I want to keep my file. I can browse and put it anywhere I want on my machine in the normal way. I'm happy enough with my selection here. I can use the original size of the image, and if I have a look at this blue area here, this tells me what size the image is, and the original size here is 152 times 152 pixels. Or I can resize the image, and this will make the image wider. So I leave it there. This option allows me to change the quality of the image, and that relates to the file size of the image, not the actual physical size. In other words, the number of inches that or centimeters that the image will take up on a website. This relates to the file size, and that relates also to the quality of the image. Now, with websites, you usually want to try and reduce the file size of your images as much as possible, because your users won't necessarily thank you if they click on one of your images and it takes a long time to load up. Larger images take longer time to load, and it's particularly important where people have mobile devices, where their download speed would be longer, and where the amount of data that they can store would be smaller than on your laptop machine, which would have a broadband connection. So let's just try saving this image off with a couple of different qualities. We'll try this custom 85 is 85% of the original. So we'll export the image of that. That's our image exported. And we'll also export the same image, but this time we'll reduce the quality down to, say, something pretty dramatic, say 15%. Export. So now we have the same image saved twice. So let me have a look at this version first. That's the 75% quality version. And now we'll have a look at the 15%, and you can see there's a lot of blurring on the 15% image. Now I'd like to actually get a look at the relative file sizes. Again, we'll look at the 85% size image. We'll go down to properties, and this one is 10 kilobytes, and it actually takes up a size on the disk of 12 kilobytes, because images, well, computers set aside a little more space than they need for files. Now if we have a look at the second version of the image, that's 3.16 kilobytes, so it's about a third of the size of the original. It's usually a trade-off between the file size and the image quality, and for web use, you need to consider what quality is necessary. So what we've looked at how to change how to open up Picasa. We've looked at how to change the brightness and contrast, the hue and saturation. We've looked at cropping an image. Then we've resized the image, and we save the image off in a form that would be useful for web use. Thank you very much.